Sawadee Cop. March the 24th. Does it feel to you like time is flying? Like March is like gone by super quick? It feels like that to me. Probably because I'm happy. Because when I worked in the cubicle jungle for 13 years, like I remember looking at the clock. There's always a clock up on the wall because we all punched out at 5 o'clock or whatever. And I look at the clock and I'm like, I'm ready to go home now. I don't want to work anymore. And it'd be 2:15, and then I get back to work and I do some more shit and I look up and it's like 2:45. It's like, damn, it's closer to 5 o'clock, but it's not 5 o'clock yet. And that half hour would feel like 3 hours to me because I was sometimes in a suit and tie. Early on in my career, especially, that was like you're working in a Fortune 500 company. You got to wear the monkey suit, which I hated, especially the tie. Whenever I wore a tie, it felt like I was choking myself. And I'm not into BDSM. I didn't like being choked. I don't want you to slap me and call me your bitch or it doesn't work for me. So I hated the fucking tie around my neck. It just felt like I was on a leash. I hated being in a cubicle, sitting still, working on typing on a computer for 8 hours. So the time would just fucking drag on. And here it's like, damn, the days are flying past. So that's interesting how relative the time seems, because I'm happy. Imagine that. So when you all do retire, you have that to look forward to. The days go by super quick. They don't drag, trust me. All right, 24th. Individuals with positive mental attitudes are never found in a rut. Well, that's true. I'm going to have to talk about my sister, Stacy, today. She's a rut person. Individuals with a positive attitude are those who somehow always manage to find something new and interesting, even in the most mundane task. Well, there goes that. I wasn't able to find new and interesting in my mundane cubicle task. They don't allow themselves to be bored because they're always seeking ways to do things faster, better, and more efficiently. Well, I guess that's the problem. When I was in the cubicle jungle for 13 years, I wasn't positive mental attitude. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was trading hours for dollars. I was happy to have the security, stability of a paycheck, like most people. So I was wrong. I didn't see the error of my ways then. They're always seeking new things more efficiently. If you make it a practice to find better ways to do the same old things, you will soon be marked for advancement. You'll be supervising others who are performing your old job because you've proven that you are a person who can be counted on to take the initiative and do what needs to be done without being told. All right, well, so he's back at it again. He's back at the working 9 to 5, like my girl Dolly sang about. Even though Dolly never worked 9 to 5, she was a singer. So I was what they call a 1099. 1099 is a form, but people call what I did 1099 because that's how we got paid, as opposed to a W-2 employee, right, where they pull the taxes out and all that. I had a company, an S corp it was. You could have an LLC, sole prop, whatever, sole proprietor, it doesn't matter. The point was, I was an independent contractor when I was in the cubicle jungle. So no matter how well I did my job, I wouldn't get promoted. When I was in some of these companies and did a really good job, they offered me to switch to full-time. They said, "Well, you're a really good programmer, you're a really good employee, whatever." I faked them out because I was a terrible employee. Would you work for us? We want to transition over to W-2. And I politely, kindly, because these were my people who were paying my salary, said thank you, but no thank you, because I wanted to keep making the 100 grand a year, not 30, 40, 50 grand a year, for that security, right? So I was in the cubicle jungle, but I was doing it at twice the price or 3 times the price that they were getting their employees for. So I was, Robert Kiyosaki has something called the Cashflow Quadrant. If you haven't read it, read it. It's a great book. And if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad yet, read that first. And then the second book is Cashflow Quadrant, and read that. Hell, read everything Kiyosaki wrote. And I'm not saying he's God. He's just a very good investment / real estate trainer, teacher, and he puts a lot of good ideas in his books, just like Napoleon Hill puts in his. So it's worth the read. It's worth your time. And once again, if audio is your thing in your car or on your phone, knock yourself out. You don't have to actually read a physical book if that's not for you. But get the information. That's what I'm saying. Download the information in computer terms. Download the information into your head any way that you can get it or want to get it or like to get it. So even then, that doesn't apply to me. That paragraph never applied to me, even though I was in the cubicle jungle working for Fortune 500 companies for 13 years, right? That wasn't my job. And if I did my job well, I get to keep making the $50 an hour, right? That was my reward. That was my pat on the head, is I got paid from my company, who is a middleman who put me in there. Big companies don't like dealing with little companies like me. They never had. And that's why during the lockdown, they're doing their best to crush little companies. They hate little companies. We're innovative. We move fast. We don't have all the problems they have. We don't have the headaches, the overhead, the staffing, all that crap. We're much more nimble. We're a huge threat to them. So even back in the 80s and 90s, big companies would not deal with my little weaselware incorporated, my little S Corp, right? So I had to go through a large company that was, like a headhunter firm, and they would go and have coffee with the managers at, Bank of America and say, hey, you have any openings? You need any, DB2 guys? You need any Power Builder guys? You need any VB SQL Server guys coming up for any projects you got? Take them to lunch, schmooze them, the corporate thing. Waste money, be inefficient, not an open marketplace. They would only be open to 3 or 4 of these vendors, they called them, right? These big companies. So big Bank of America would do business with a big headhunting company. So I worked for the headhunting company. I didn't want to work for Bank of America for $30,000 a year and get fired at Christmas time years later. So I had to be an independent contractor. The headhunting companies didn't want the headaches of the staffing and the overhead and all that. So I would be an independent contractor, 1099 with them. They would bill the big Fortune 500 company on my behalf. I did a timesheet every week, and they would bill the company for the hours I worked. So if I wanted to keep doing that and making good money, I would do my job and do it well, and yeah, a lot of times the manager who was supervising you and signing your timesheet, okay, so the staff doing the same job I did would make 30 or 40 grand a year. The manager might be making 50 or 60. Well, here I am, he's signing off knowing full well that they're paying $120,000 a year for me. Now, 20,000 or 30,000 or as much as they could get went to the headhunter simply for finding me the job. They'd keep dipping and making money. There'd be a spread on my hours, and I would get the 100,000, right, $50 an hour. So they would bill $60 an hour, keep $10 an hour off of my back. The big companies, right, make money off the little guy, and that exists to this day, and that's the mentality to this day. The wealthy, big conglomerate people just view you as these little sheeple that will do whatever they tell them to do and to be manipulated. You're not as smart as them. You're not as cool as them because you weren't born into money. Fucking arrogant pricks. And they just want to use you to generate cash for themselves without doing the work. They didn't have to show up and code for 40 hours a week. They had me to do that. And at that time, with my mindset, I was happy to do it because I was making the 6 figures, and that's all I cared about, right? Money, 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 money. And as long as you keep just caring about money, then they'll be able to play you like that and use you as a pawn. So once again, there's some friction because the managers would be making half of what I billed for. Now, I didn't get double, but I got more than the managers I worked for because that was my rate. And not for nothing, but why was the Fortune 500 company, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Siemens, Prudential Insurance, those are the companies I worked for, AT&T, why were they willing to pay twice as much as they're paying their managers for a consultant? Why did they need the consultant? Why did they need to pay me $60 an hour, me getting 50, as I just explained because of the headhunter? Why were they willing to pay the headhunter $60 an hour for me and people like, I was not the only contractor there. There was plenty of contractors. Why, right? And nobody ever asked that question. Nobody ever said, why don't we just pay our employees 60 grand and pay the manager 80 grand and not have any contractors? Well, thank God they never figured that out, because for 13 years I made a very good living. So, but once again, you can see how that doesn't apply to me, right? The only people he's talking to in that paragraph are W-2s, people who are trading hours for dollars. And yeah, I did it, but I got more dollars, right? And by being not a W-2, by being a 1099, I was there for 3 months, 6 months, and I could leave. Sometimes they renewed me. If I liked working there, I would take the renewal. Otherwise, I'd tell my headhunter, no, I want a new assignment. I want somewhere else. I liked going from place to place to place. Once again, I'm a different animal than most people. Most people like to stay in the same place for 20 years. I can't stand that. That drives me crazy. So different mindset even then, but still I was closer to the W-2 than I was now. So real quick, the cash flow quadrant, I'll just go over it. But like I said, I want you to read the book and understand everything about it. It's just a cross, right? Like this, like tic-tac-toe. And up here is E, down here is S, up here is B, and over here is I. Now remember, it's backwards because I'm looking at the front of the camera, but E, S, B, I. E stands for employee. That's the W-2s I just talked about. S stands for self-employed. So even back then, I was a 1099, I was self-employed. As a real estate agent, as a real estate broker, I was self-employed. When I started the real estate brokerage, now I became a B, which is a business owner. One Realty Corp is a business. I recruit agents. They work on a 1099 basis. They're all S's, self-employed, which is, in my mind, better. In my mind, it should go like this. E down here on the bottom, then S, then B, then I. I should be on the top, because investors, which is what I stands for, have the best deal and make the most money and have tax advantages. And that's the people who own the big companies as investors, right? They don't manage the company. They're not self-employed. They don't work at the business. They just invest in the businesses, and by the way of stocks, right? Majority shareholders in stock. So you want to climb that ladder. Like I said, I don't look at it as a quadrant, tic-tac-toe. I look at it as a stack, and I is on the top of the stack, then B, then S. So even then, I was one level up, because the way I think, I was willing to risk instability and being out of work. It never happened. I worked steady for 13 years, which is why I kept believing in it, to get more money. So I jumped from E to S in 1989 and never looked back. I stayed S the rest of the way, and I still own that company. But this year what will happen is I'll step down as a broker, and I'm going to have another broker come in, but I'll still own the company. See, now I'll be B, still a business owner, but really an investor, because my sweat equity and my money went into that business, and now I'm going to get money out, a couple $1,000 a month. Not a huge amount, but remember, I live in Thailand. So now I'll have 6,000, the equivalent buying power of 6,000 US a month over here to spend, which is huge. That alone will let me live a very nice lifestyle over here. Once again, how many times have I said that to you, right? The flipping the cars. It's as many as I can buy and as many as I can sell. It's unlimited. I love it for that. That's important, that there's no ceiling on what I can make flipping cars and houses. I haven't even started to flip houses here yet. I will. Same thing. How many houses a year can I buy? How many houses a year can I sell? Unlimited income. That ought to excite you. If it doesn't, you're missing something up here. There's a chemical missing, because unlimited is really what you want. You want to be in control of how much you make. the reason this paragraph didn't apply to me is because I had already negotiated my rate, $50 an hour, $75 an hour, $60 an hour, whatever I had worked out with the headhunter. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how good I was at my job, I was never going to make more. It's been negotiated. That's what you're getting paid. That's your ceiling. That's your cap. So with flipping, there's no ceiling. It's how hard do you want to work? How much money do you want to make? I'm into cars. I love muscle cars and racing and stuff. And it's like, how fast do you want to go? How much money do you have, right? Because you can throw money at parts and help and good mechanics and a good team and a good crew. And the better your team, especially today where everything's tuning on laptops and chips, the better your team is, the faster you go. And it costs money to go fast. The bigger, to a certain extent, the bigger the motor you have, the faster you go. So big motors cost money, right? So it's the same thing. It's how much money do you want to make as an entrepreneur? Well, how much time, money, and effort are you willing to invest? And in myself, I'm willing to invest whatever it takes, right? But even the things that I have, a cap on, like how much money I can pull out of this brokerage, and it can grow and it can change over time. But let's just say we do 1,000 a month instead of 2, like we think we're going to be able to do. Okay, no problem. That's 30,000 baht a month here. I've already talked many times, and if you're watching YouTube videos on Thailand, you know how far 30,000 baht a month can go. It sets you up for a very comfortable life here. But that's not the only thing I'm doing, right? So with all these different irons in the fire, multiple streams of income is a term you'll hear around the investment world. It's fail-safe, it's backup, it's if this one shuts down for whatever reason, you're still not putting all your eggs in one basket. There's so many different ways to express that idea, but it's just the way I think. And, do I get on here and talk 20, 30 minutes about a 2-minute paragraph? Yeah, but I'm hoping you guys are picking up. Oh, okay, he thought that way, or oh, okay, he's doing this too. And I want you to see the angles. I want you to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then you can copy me. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Watch the video. Do what I do in your town, in your neck of the woods, in your country, in your wherever. And then when you're tired of the rat race like I was 4 years ago, make a plan and get the fuck out. So I don't think I hit the whole quadrant yet, but that's what it is. E is an employee, W-2. S is self-employed, 1099, right? B is a business owner. So you're climbing the ladder, right? Like I said, think of it like a stack instead of a quadrant. And I is an investor, right? You make your money from passive income, stocks, rental properties, real estate, getting rentals, flips, cars. All right, I'm a car. It's not really a business, right? The car flipping, because I don't have a brick and mortar. I don't have a building. Although I am talking to Jeff about getting some kind of storage or lot or something, because if there's 4 or 5 cars that are a really good price at the auction, I want to buy them. And I can't store 4 or 5 cars here in the parking lot of the condo. So it makes sense to have a fenced-in, secure lot or building, warehouse, to store cars that, when I find a good deal at the auction, I don't want to pass it by because I don't have a place to put it, if that makes sense. But still, that's relatively low overhead just for an empty lot. And we're not talking about employees or anything like that, taxes. And, it's not a business as much as it is an investment. I'm investing in a Ford Ranger. I invested in 2 motorcycles, and I'm going to sell them for more than I paid for them. It's just a game. It's just money. So that's it for today. Once again, when he does the paragraphs on W-2s, he's only addressing one part of that quadrant, the E. And there's nothing in it for us. If you're an S, B, or an I, you're not getting anything out of that paragraph. Promoted? What do you mean promoted? I own the fucking company. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't help me. So, yeah, for you E people, there you go. This one's for you. This bud's for you. If you are an E person, I don't know why you're not trying like hell to become an S, a B, or an I. because that's the way to financial freedom. Be good.